Let's now turn to the advisory. Joining Rob Gilmour, Wealth Simplicity Managing Director. Rob, welcome back. Good to catch up with you.
Hi,
so we're going to talk about gifting, and I guess in the various forms that takes. What are you looking at?
Well, look, this does come up quite a bit when we're talking to clients about their legacy, their estate plan, and particularly when they're in a situation where they have well and truly secured their own retirement and future, and they start to look at what happens with the next generation and thinking about helping out sooner rather than later.
Well, of course, we need to consider the tax implications of providing like a lump sum gift to relatives, for instance. What do you need to consider?
Yeah, well, plenty of things to consider. I think where we're going with the tax system and super, there's possibly going to be more of an incentive to gift a little bit earlier to the next generation, particularly when you have things like the Division 296 tax coming into super and thinking, well, is there a better place for that money to be and to be invested? And that's where the next generation starts to come into play, and looking at various ways to gift could be using the superannuation system in their superannuation, or cash gifts, or linked to other sort of milestones.
So you're actually seeing that? Are your clients actually making that consideration, given that that change to particularly the super balances over 3 million?
It's certainly becoming more topical in conversations where they're seeing this tax on unrealised gains in super, and that's really riled a lot of people and thinking, well, I really don't want the government taxing gains I've never made. Is there a better place to be running this money? And often those options have already been exhausted, be family trust distributions or running assets personally. And it's really just a natural part of the conversation to think about, well, thinking about a bit of a plan as a portion of your wealth to segment, and put some plans around potentially gifting that to the kids that might have a better use for it in terms of even saving bank interest or running the money elsewhere.
Well, it takes to the point of what to gift then, just in terms of those assets you may hold, and how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, I mean, it can be part of a longer term plan that there might be some planned asset sales, and they could typically be in the form of an investment property, where there are properties gradually being liquidated, or there might be longer term plans to pass those particular properties on to the next generation. And I think every case is different. It's very particular to the family situation. Obviously, first and foremost is that you've secured your own plans, and then thinking about, well, what sort of plan can we have to transfer that wealth? And I think the key is really having that family conversation, and often family members will be playing a role in the estate plan and working together, and you do want to have a scenario where everyone's on the same page as well.
All right, so you suggest perhaps use those milestones in life, such as a wedding, the birth of a child, to actually, as the catalyst for gifting.
They can be, particularly where you want to treat all the grandkids equally, for example. Well, we're going to do X on this particular milestone. Other situations can be somewhat variable. If we're talking about purchasing a property, I've had conversations with plenty of clients that they're seeing the cost of property and how difficult it is to get on the property ladder, and they want to see their kids on that property ladder, but the kids aren't necessarily ready to commit to a mortgage, and wanting to have that, or learning that discipline of having the responsibility of a mortgage, and potentially going for the place that they really want rather than trying to push for something sooner. So there are varying factors depending on family situations and actually what outcome you're trying to achieve for the recipients of the gifts.
Is it as simple as just doing a direct sort of cash gift, or does it need to be a little more complicated in terms of that tax, like setting up some sort of family trust or whatever else?
Look, cash gifts are quite common, particularly where there's mortgage debt, and it can be very easy to provide the cash and save the bank interest. And where people need to be very careful about that is protection around family law. That is a real consideration for a lot of clients, and thinking about ways of structuring that gift, and maybe putting the rigour around it being structured as a loan rather than an out gift. And it's really important that people get advice around structures like that, because the family law courts can look through every structure, and they can see that a loan is a sham loan, and they'll look through it as a gift. So protecting gifts through legal agreements, protecting gifts through family trusts and loan backs is common, but also, thinking about family trust distributions and maybe putting those into superannuation is also a common way of gifting.
And are there limits? Particularly, I guess, if you're receiving a pension, were there limits in the amounts you can gift?
There's no limits to what someone can gift from their assets, and look, in occasions I've had to talk people down from the amount that they're looking to gift because it might compromise their own personal situation. Once you're in that pension phase, you can draw from super. That's fairly straightforward. But I think in terms of limits, if one is looking to maximise, say, Centrelink benefits, then you need to be careful of the 5-year rule, that any gifts in the prior 5 years will still be counted as an asset from a Centrelink perspective. So that is a consideration, but I think the main thing is just weighing up the needs, making sure that your superannuation investments and retirement income is secured, and then thinking, what segment of my wealth am I thinking about transferring before that estate situation.